Shall we start? Thanks, Anand.
Is this on? Yeah.
It's an honor. Also an honor to share space with Arundhati Roy, who I have known by and large till recently. Okay. Sorry. I wanted to thank Anand for providing this opportunity, and also for sharing a space with Arundhati, who I have known till recently only through her writings. And for me, she is what she writes. Also, for the first time in my life, I heard the voice of Ambedkar, the audio that was played out. Thanks for that. You know, very few texts of social criticism and political polemic have had such a checkered career and such a long life as Annihilation of Caste by Ambedkar. Books may last for decades on the shelves, maybe centuries, but after some time they stop speaking. Their message, their mazmoon, stops resonating with the reader. Now, why this has not happened with Annihilation of Caste is primarily, in my opinion, because the conditions to which it addresses itself still exist. The structures of oppression and inequality that it writes about are still there in place. Of course, a lot of things have changed. A lot of new things have come into play. But as in a debate with Albert Camus, Jean-Paul Sartre, they were having a very bitter debate about Marxism. And at one stage, Sartre says that Marxism is a theory of capitalism, and as a social philosophy cannot be transcended unless the conditions of capitalism themselves could be transcended. So herein lies the importance of Ambedkar's text. It demands serious engagement, and we all know Arundhati has never been shy of such engagements. By way of starting this brief conversation, if I could ask her this simple question: why so late? Why so late? I know the impulse must be there for some time, but this couldn't just be a friendly push from a concerned publisher, I'm sure.
Well, I think the answer to that is, look, I'm not an academic, I'm not a historian. I still don't necessarily see this as my duty or something that I have to do. Even though it's been a long time since I've written my next book of fiction, it's been a long time that I'm just trying to write it, and then I keep getting interrupted by real life, But so I don't think, I don't think I can answer that question, because it's not. It's a question addressed to everybody, right? Anybody else could have done it. It's not that I had to. The world was not waiting for me to do it. There's nothing special about my doing it. And as we know, there are so many editions. There's so much commentary on this book before, And for me, fundamentally, I'm not somebody who. I would like to absorb the annihilation of caste into my cellular structure, and I would like it to come out in everything I say or how I write or what I do. It's not an issue for me. It's not that I'm going to now become an Ambedkar scholar. It's that Ambedkar's way of seeing will be in my eyes. I will, just as when I go to Kashmir, I don't come back and become a person who just starts a little industry of Kashmir ki azadi. It's just that those things go into your blood as a writer, and then they inform everything that you do. And it is true that there is hardly anything I've written where one doesn't at least refer to how caste works in our country, and primarily, of course, as I said, the God of small things. But I think we all have to take great cognizance of this, and it's late for all of us. It would be very, very pompous of me to assume that it was my responsibility to do this and I've been late in doing it, It's something that has to do with all of us.
Well, in a way, as you said, God of small things is also about caste. In that sense, this engagement is not new. Now, you have been on the road with this book recently, and like all road journeys, you might have expected some difficulties. So what has been the experience so far? What's your sense of audience response on this book?
Well, I think what's interesting about the book and perhaps the introduction is that it confounds our normal ways in which we have lazily divided up society in political terms. It confuses us about now what is the left wing and what is the right wing and what is the middle wing and who are the moderates and who are the liberals. So I think it'll take a little bit of time for people to gather their forces and know who and where and which direction to attack it from, because I think one of the things that will disturb many liberals is the fact that especially today when the right wing is on the ascendant, when Modi is on the ascendant, when people are so worried about our own form of fascism coming to power. I've been asked, are you handing Gandhi over to the right? And I said, look, Gandhi is not a stuffed toy. I can't hand him, I'm nobody to hand him over to anyone. But in the matter of caste, it's really very interesting that you cannot, it doesn't play by the rules of everything else. If you look at the description of what happened in the Pune Pact, this is a very fascinating story of how Gandhi was constantly thwarting Ambedkar's one desire to see the Dalits developed into a political community who had the right to represent themselves. He always wanted the missionary position. You be the victim, I'll be the missionary. Let me look after you and let me, that kind of thing. And so after the Round Table Conference, when the British actually gave Dalits a special separate electorate, Gandhi went on a hunger fast, and it was what Ambedkar called a form of barefaced blackmail almost. And Ambedkar had to pull back. Now, if you look at the signatories of the Pune Pact, who were they? There was G.D. Birla, who sponsored Gandhi from 1915 to the end of his life. There was Madan Mohan Malviya. There was V. Savarkar, accused of the assassination of Gandhi. Birla was Gandhi's sponsor. He was also funding the Arya Samaj Shuddhi movement to purify Dalits and Adivasis. He also then campaigned later when the RSS was banned after the assassination of Gandhi. He was one of the people who campaigned to unban the RSS. So, the connections are very interesting and we can't just easily, categorize this politics. So I think, of course, coming back to the current thing, as Anand mentioned, there has been one section of, Dalits who who maintain that only Dalits should have, only a Dalit can write the introduction, and that it's been misrepresented. Some people say there cannot be any annotation, all that, which are interesting debates and which I have actually responded to quite formally. But they are basically positions, they are not arguments. That it's like, will then the Gujarati Banya say only we can represent Gandhi, or someone else will say only the Mahars can represent Ambedkar accurately. And these are debates which the feminist movements, the anti-apartheid movement, the black movement in Africa, in the civil rights movement in the US, all these issues have been debated. And it's very interesting in the issue of caste, because Ambedkar, I just want to read one of the things he says, because it really speaks to this. But this is the thing about him, he's so relevant. We can just keep quoting him to make our points. Ambedkar says, he's describing Brahmanism, and he's calling it and he says there is no, under Brahmanism, there is no such class as a completely unprivileged class, except the one which is at the base of the social pyramid. The privileges of the rest are graded. Even the low is privileged as compared with the lower. Each class being privileged, every class is interested in maintaining the system. So actually, you look at the system of caste, it's like a surveillance system where everybody is sort of asked to spy on the next person, and everybody has some interest in maintaining the status quo. So it's a hellishly difficult social system in which to organize politically. As I said, Mao, how famously he said, Chairman Mao said that, a single spark can light a prairie fire. But we have, instead of a prairie, a labyrinth. And the single spark just keeps getting caught in this labyrinth and doesn't know what to do because of caste.